I was just kind of inspired to make a video this morning. I don't know why. It's Friday, July 6th. And it's about what you can and can't do. This is going to sound kind of corny, but whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. And that's kind of a neat way of saying mental attitude is anything. Let me tell you a little bit about my backstory and how I got to this point and ended up having to get banded. Back in the late 80s through the 90s, I was in the Navy. And I was doing martial arts, and I was racing mountain bikes, and I was, let's see, with the old rope and choke method, I was at 7% body fat. I was acing all my PT tests. And then I remember it like it was yesterday, February 13th, 1998. I was at a Girl Scout meeting because my wife and I were Girl Scout leaders at the time. I had just returned home from sea, and I'd missed my 8-year anniversary, and we had a Valentine's Day party for my girls. And I had a horrible group of parents at the time. They were all the stop, drop, and go types. They wouldn't stay and help with anything. And anyway, long story short, the party ended a little bit early, and the girls started getting kind of restless and rambunctious. And if you've ever had a group of 23 8-year-old girls in a room with nothing to do, yeah, I think I'd rather hang out with a herd of stampeding buffaloes. So, we decided we'd play a game with them, and the game we played is called Mr. Bear, and it's a lot like tag, except the person that's it acts like a bear, and you'll never guess who the girls wanted to be it first. So, there I was, running around acting like a bear, chasing girls, and we had a special needs girl in my troop named Sarah, and I always made sure to include her in everything and make sure she felt like part of whatever we were doing. So I was chasing her, and I guess it got to be a little too much for her because she freaked out and just came to a dead stop, laid on the ground, face down, spread eagle, and just started screaming. And I was running, and I had the option of my next footfall landing where her head was, or attempting to jump over her with only my toe on the ground. So, rather than get my shoes dirty, I chose to try and jump over. And in coming down, my right toe caught on the ground, and my leg buckled, and my shin hit the ground, and at a 90-degree angle, my knee came away from my shin, straight down, boom, into the ground. And I completely severed my meniscus, and I severed my PCL, and I blew a hole through my quad tendon, and I blew my kneecap up into the middle of my thigh. And all of you women that have had childbirth and you talk about that white flash of pain, yeah, I got it. I know exactly how you feel. And when that went away and I got my senses back, I had all these 8-year-old girls offering first aid advice, and my beautiful bride standing in the corner laughing at me because she didn't realize I was actually hurt. And then I heard one of the girls yell, "Don't worry, Mr. Rob, I'll call 911. Whoa, wait. We don't need to get emergency crews involved. And I reached down and I assessed the situation. I was like, wow, this isn't good. But I figured it was kind of like, when you're playing baseball and you dislocate a finger, you just pop it back in and go back to work. So I slid my kneecap back into place and punched myself in the calf and reset my leg and got up and went on with life. And got all the girls sent home, and I think I mentioned I missed my 8-year anniversary, so I took my wife out to dinner and a movie, and the movie in question was Titanic. Like I said, I remember this night like it was yesterday. And at the end of Titanic, I was wearing a pair of carpenter jeans, and the right leg was tight because my leg had swollen so much. So we went to the Naval Hospital there at Groton, New London, and they were like, yeah, you did something, but you're so swollen we can't do anything for you. Go home, ice and elevate, and see your boat corpsman in the morning. And for those of you who don't know, corpsman is a Navy military or medical person who's basically trained to patch bullet holes and not much else. So I hobbled down to the boat the next morning and crawled down the 3 flights of ladders down to the corpsman's office, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're screwed up, Rob. Why don't you go see Squadron Medical, because this is more than I can do for you." So I crawled back out 3 ladders and to the other side of base on foot to the Squadron Corpsman. And Squadron Medical, for those of you who don't know, their job is to basically weed out the people that are faking injuries to try and get out of the Navy. Now, at this point in time, I'd been in the Navy for about 12 and a half years. I was a first-class petty officer. I was on the fast track to make chief, which is a big deal in the Navy, especially in the job I had. So, Squadron Medical accused me of malingering, which is fancy Navy talk of hurting yourself on purpose to keep from going to sea. And I was like, "No, Doc, I'm not." So they gave me a week of bed rest. So I went home for a week and iced and elevated. And my leg continued turning all kinds of weird shades of purple and blue and green and yellow and back to purple. And my knee looked like an alien head. And I came back and still that one leg was blown all to hell. Another week off, blown all to hell. Another week off, blown all to hell. And then they said, "Well, there's no way your leg is this messed up because you keep walking in here. So you're hitting yourself in the knee with a hammer before all the doctor's appointments, and that's why the bruises always look so fresh." So they pulled me off my boat, gave me a set of crappy evals, and stuck me in the warfare library, where all those guys, they don't know. They think I'm just some piece of crap that's trying to keep from being a sailor, which is the furthest thing from the truth because I love being a sailor. So finally, a year later of being told how I'm screwing myself off on purpose, they send me to the orthopedist up at the hospital and go through the same rigmarole with him. "Oh, you're hitting yourself in the leg with a hammer. Oh, the reason your one leg is swollen so much is because you're overweight. Because I haven't been able to ride my bike or do martial arts or run or do anything, but I haven't changed my eating habits. So, I'm starting to swell." And finally talked this guy into paying for an MRI. And he walks in a week later with the MRI results, and he's got his hand out, and it's like, "Hey, Doc, I've met you like a dozen times already, but hey, how you doing?" He goes, "Wow, you must be in incredible pain because looking at this MRI, I don't see how you can walk." It's like, "Really? Do you think, Doc? What have I been saying all year?" So he goes, "Yeah, see this little tiny gray dot? That should be a big, thick black line. See this, stuff here that looks like gravel? That should be a solid hourglass shape. See this black line here? That's a scar through the tendon. See this is where you fractured that. See this is where you broke that." I'm like, "Okay, well, what are we going to do to get this fixed?" And he goes, "Well, I retire next week, so you're going to have to wait on my replacement to come in." Thanks. So month and a half later, his replacement finally gets in because, let's face it, the military's not the greatest at making sure that the new guy's in town before the old guy leaves. And so I make it in to see him, and he's a decent guy. Doc named Richard Savarino. I don't know if any of you know him. He's from Eastern Pennsylvania originally. So he goes, "Well, yeah, this is going to have to be done in multiple stages because my credentials haven't been accepted out in town, and the hospital just changed from a hospital to an ambulatory care center, so there's no overnight staff, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to go in tomorrow, and we're going to fix your cartilage because that's outpatient surgery. And when you heal from that surgery, one of the hospitals out in town will have accepted my credentials, and then we'll go in there and we'll fix all this ligament damage you got." Okay, no problem. So, I tell my boss and go in, and they give me a spinal, and he comes in 10 minutes later and he runs that little needle thing across my feet, and I'm like, "Yeah, that was my left foot, that was my right foot." Oh, well, it hasn't taken yet. Comes back in 5 minutes later, does it again. Oh, yeah, I can still feel it. So they give me more spinal. Do the wheel thing. Oh, more spinal, wheel thing. Well, that goes on for 5 sets. And then they say, you know what, we're just going to give you a general because we got other people waiting for the surgery. And I wake up and I'm in a room with 3 other guys. And they're all sitting up in bed. And they're, joking and coking. And they've got ace bandages and ice packs on their knee. And I'm in a leg traction machine from my hip to my ankle, and I'm wrapped from my hip to my ankle, and I reach down and I grab my legs and I can't feel them and I can't move my toes, and I'm thinking that the doctor just paralyzed me, and I start freaking the fuck out. So yeah, they finally get me calmed down and explain to me, hey, while you were out, the spinal must have taken, it must have been nerves and adrenaline keeping it from going, blah, blah, blah. You'll be fine in half an hour. And yeah, while we were in there, we saw a lot more damage than we expected to see, which is why you're all, done up this way. Oh, by the way, I just got this in the mail today. Here's the letter accepting my credentials out in town. If we would have waited a day, we could have done this all at once. Fucking A, thanks, Doc. So 90 days later, I go back into the hospital, and they go in and they replace all of my ligaments, which is typically not a big deal, but they've got to use cadaver parts for mine. They took the heel spur and Achilles tendon from several people that were kind enough to donate themselves to science, and zapped them with radiation to make them nice and stretchy, and cut out all my ligaments and drilled holes through all my bones and reweaved me a knee. And yeah, when I was done with that, I'm still eating the way I used to, still getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it took me a year and a half to learn how to walk again after that, and I was walking in a leg immobilizer from my hip to my ankle. So yeah, there's no running for me, and biking was just absolute torture. So anyway, that's how I got where I'm at today. That's really the beginning of my weight gain journey. And then back in January, like I told you guys repeatedly, I got up to 345 pounds, decided I'm tired of being the fat guy in the room. Had the lap band installed February 21st, and my doctor, Dr. Davidson, out here at Village Surgical Associates in Fayetteville, he's a great doctor, but he was pretty blunt with me. He said, Rob, if you don't change the way you eat and get off the couch and go do some exercising, you just wasted $4,000 of copay monies, because the lap band won't do anything for you. So got the Zen Labs Couch to 5K program from my iPhone, and I started using that, and changed up my eating habits, got rid of all the junk food, got rid of all the chips, the cookies, the candies, all this garbage I was eating, and started eating protein first, 90 grams of protein a day, at least 64 ounces of water. Actually, now that I'm running in summertime here in North Carolina, it's at least 120 ounces of water because I sweat like a damn pig. But yeah, that whole time I kept saying, oh, I can't run because of my knee, I can't ride my bike because of my knee, I can't do martial arts anymore, I can't do this anymore. And I missed out on, 98 to 2012, what is that? 14 years of my life because of Cant. And because I kept saying I can't do it, I was right. And this doctor telling me that if I didn't change, I wasted $4,000 of my money and I'd be dead because I'd be fat again. Started changing those cans to cans, and here I am now. And I'm running 5Ks. I'm on my third round through the Couch to 5K program. I'm kicking up the speed now and running uphill. Making fat cry. Had my surgery February 21st, and down at least 70 pounds. I don't know, I haven't weighed myself in about a week and a half. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. And like I said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. It's better to think that you can do it and at least go out and try. Keep it safe, people. Keep it real. Keep your scale moving in the right direction, and I'll see you soon.